At 2 a.m. in the coldest part of winter, Lena Hart stands outside Suite 4412 with trembling hands and an empty stomach, praying the guest inside tips well enough for her to buy bread. She knocks 3 times. The door opens. And there he is. Victor D'Angelo, the man she married in secret, the man she abandoned without explanation, the man whose world she fled 4 years ago to save his life. He doesn't move, doesn't speak, just stares at her like she's a ghost he thought he'd buried. The cart rattles. Her knees threaten to give out. The past has found her. If you're hooked already, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Now, let's begin. What? The Grandeur Hotel smelled like expensive perfume and leather couches that cost more than Lena made in 6 months. She hated it. Hated the chandeliers that dripped crystal like frozen tears. Hated the marble floors so polished she could see her own exhausted reflection. Hated the guests who never looked her in the eye. But she needed this job. Needed it the way drowning people need air. It was 2:07 a.m. when the call came through her ancient walkie-talkie, crackling with static and impatience. Lena Suite 4412 needs turn-down service. Now. She'd been scrubbing toilets on the 9th floor, her back screaming, her fingers raw from bleach. 3 double shifts this week, 4 hours of sleep total. Her supervisor, a woman named Gladys with a face like a clenched fist, didn't care that Lena was dead on her feet. Nobody cared. "Copy," Lena whispered into the radio. She gathered fresh towels, chocolates wrapped in gold foil, bottled water that cost $18. Her cart had a broken wheel that squeaked like a dying animal. She pushed it toward the elevator, past other maids who looked just as hollowed out as she felt. The 4th floor was always quiet at night. Expensive quiet. The kind of silence that came with money and secrets. Lena's sneakers made no sound on the carpet as she approached 4412. The suite at the end of the hall, the one that cost $7,000 a night. She knocked, 3 light taps. "Housekeeping." No answer. She knocked again, louder this time. Her shift ended in 20 minutes. She just wanted to go home. If the roach-infested studio apartment with the broken heater could be called home. The door opened, and Lena's heart stopped. Victor D'Angelo stood in the doorway wearing a black shirt with the sleeves rolled up, dark slacks, no shoes. He looked exactly the same. Sharp jaw, cold eyes the color of smoke, a scar through his left eyebrow that she used to trace with her fingertip when they lay tangled in sheets that smelled like him. 4 years hadn't softened him. If anything, he looked harder, more dangerous. He stared at her. She stared back. The chocolate mint slipped from her hand and hit the carpet with a soft thud. Lena. Her name in his mouth felt like a bullet she'd been expecting for 4 years. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The hallway tilted sideways and she grabbed the edge of her cart to keep from falling. I'm sorry, I'll send someone else." She turned to run. His hand shot out and caught her wrist. Not rough, but firm enough that she knew she wasn't leaving. "Get inside." It wasn't a request. Lena's pulse hammered in her throat as he pulled her into the suite and closed the door behind them. The room was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a marble fireplace, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. A laptop sat open on the dining table, papers spread everywhere. A half-empty glass of whiskey, evidence of a man who didn't sleep much either. Victor released her wrist and stepped back, studying her like she was a puzzle he'd been trying to solve for years. "You're a maid." The way he said it, flat, disbelieving, made something hot and defensive rise in her chest. "Yes. Here, you're working here." "Yes." "How long?" 8 months. His jaw tightened. A muscle ticked near his temple. "And before that?" "Different hotels, restaurants, wherever would hire me." He moved to the bar cart and poured himself another whiskey. Didn't offer her one. Drank half of it in one swallow. 4 years, he said quietly. 4 years, Lena. I looked everywhere. Hired investigators. Threatened people. Burned through every contact I had. And you were here the whole time? In this city? Not the whole time. Where then? Different places. That's not an answer. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly freezing despite the warmth of the suite. I moved around, stayed off the grid. Why? The question hung in the air like smoke. Lena couldn't meet his eyes. If she looked at him too long, she'd remember things she'd worked hard to forget. The way he used to pull her into his lap when she was stressed. The way he'd kiss her temple and tell her she was safe with him. The way she'd believed it. You know why, she whispered. Victor's laugh was bitter. No, actually I don't. You left a note that said 3 words. I'm sorry, Victor. That's it. No explanation. No warning. You just disappeared like you never existed. It was safer that way. Safer? He set the glass down hard enough that it cracked against the marble counter. You think starving to death is safer? Look at you, Lena. You're half the size you were. When's the last time you ate a real meal? I eat. When? She didn't answer. He crossed the room in 3 strides and grabbed her hand, turning it over. Her knuckles were scraped raw. Chemical burns from cleaning supplies dotted her fingers. He touched the scar on her palm, a burn from a restaurant job 2 years ago, and something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Who did this to you? Nobody. I did it to myself. That's what happens when you work. This isn't work. This is survival. Lena pulled her hand back. What do you want from me, Victor? The truth. Why did you leave? She turned away from him, staring out the window at the city lights. Because staying would have gotten you killed. Silence. Then, explain. A man came to see me, Lena said, her voice barely audible. 4 years ago, 3 days before I left. He knew everything about us. He knew we were married. He knew where you lived, where I lived. He knew your schedule down to the minute. What man? I don't know his name. He never told me, but he had pictures, Victor. Pictures of you leaving your apartment. Pictures of us at that restaurant you liked. Pictures of me walking to the bookstore. Victor's expression darkened. And he said if I didn't disappear, you'd be dead within a week. He said there were people, powerful people, who wanted you gone, but they needed leverage first. They needed something you cared about. Someone, her voice cracked. Me. So you ran. Yes. Without telling me. If I told you, you wouldn't have let me go. You would have fought them, and they would have killed you. Victor grabbed her shoulders and turned her to face him. His eyes burned with something between fury and grief. You don't get to make that choice for me. I already did. And look where it got you, working yourself to death, hiding like a criminal, living in whatever hellhole you're living in. I'm alive. You're alive. That's what matters. No. His grip tightened. That's not what matters. What matters is that you're mine, Lena. You were mine 4 years ago, and you're still mine now. And I don't let go of what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it cracked something open inside her chest, something she'd kept locked and buried because feeling it hurt too much. You can't just, I can, and I will. He released her and pulled out his phone, dialing a number. Marco, Suite 4412. Now. Victor, don't. Sit down. I have to finish my shift. You're done. You're never working another shift in this place again. You can't do that. He looked at her, really looked at her, and the expression on his face was something she'd only seen once before. The night they got married in a courthouse at midnight, because neither of them believed in waiting. Watch me. 10 minutes later, a man arrived. Tall, built like he broke bones for a living, with a face that gave nothing away. Marco. Victor's head of security. Lena recognized him from before. When her life had been different, when she'd lived in Victor's penthouse and worn dresses that cost more than her car. Boss, Marco said, then stopped when he saw Lena. His expression flickered. Surprise. Recognition. Something almost like relief. Mrs. D'Angelo? Lena flinched at the name. She's coming with us, Victor said. Get her things from wherever she's living and bring them to the penthouse. Then I want a full security sweep. No one gets in or out without my clearance. Victor, this is insane. He ignored her. Also, I want her employee file from this hotel. Pay off whoever you need to pay off. Erase her name from their system. She was never here. On it, Marco said, then hesitated. And the girl? What girl? The one asking about her last week. Brunette, late 20s. Said she was looking for Lena Hart. Lena's blood turned to ice. What did you tell her? Victor asked, his voice deadly quiet. Nothing. Said I'd never heard the name. She left a card. I ran it. Fake name. Burner phone. But she's been back twice. Victor's hand moved to his waist where Lena knew he kept a gun. Find her. Victor, wait. Lena grabbed his arm. If someone's looking for me, that means they know I'm here. That means you're in danger. Let them come. You don't understand. These people... No, you don't understand. He cupped her face with both hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. I've spent 4 years in hell wondering if you were alive or dead. 4 years imagining every worst-case scenario. You think I'm scared of whoever these people are? I'm not. The only thing I'm scared of is losing you again. You never lost me. Then why does it feel like I did? She didn't have an answer for that. Marco cleared his throat. I'll give you two some privacy. He left. Victor's thumb brushed her cheekbone. When's the last time you slept? I don't know. Tuesday? It's Friday. Then Tuesday. He muttered something in Italian that sounded like a curse. You're staying here tonight. I can't. You can. You will. We'll deal with everything else tomorrow. Victor, Lena. His voice softened. Please, just let me take care of you. Like I should have been doing this whole time. And maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the way he was looking at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Maybe it was the fact that she was so tired of being afraid, of running, of surviving instead of living. Okay, she whispered. Relief flooded his face. He pulled her into his arms and held her so tightly she could barely breathe. She felt his heartbeat against her cheek, steady and strong. Felt the tension drain from his body like he'd been holding himself together by force of will and could finally let go. I missed you, he said into her hair. Every goddamn day, I missed you. Lena's eyes burned. I missed you too. They stood like that for a long time, long enough that the city outside shifted from night to the purple gray of early morning, long enough that Lena's legs started to shake from standing. Victor noticed. Of course he did. He always noticed. Come on, he said, guiding her toward the bedroom. You need sleep. I should shower first. I'm covered in, but I don't care. He pulled back the covers on the massive bed and pointed. Lena hesitated, then kicked off her sneakers and climbed in. The sheets were soft. Obscenely soft. She couldn't remember the last time she'd slept on something that didn't smell like mildew. Victor sat on the edge of the bed, watching her. You're not going to sleep? She asked. Not yet. I have calls to make. Victor, sleep, Lena. We'll talk more when you wake up. She wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him that this was a mistake, that being here put him in danger, that she should leave before whoever was looking for her found them both. But the bed was so soft, and she was so tired. Her eyes closed. The last thing she felt was Victor's hand smoothing her hair back from her forehead. The last thing she heard was his voice, low and fierce. I've got you now. No one's taking you from me again. And for the first time in 4 years, Lena let herself believe it might be true. When Lena woke, sunlight was streaming through the windows and her phone was ringing. Except it wasn't her phone. It was a new one, sitting on the nightstand next to a glass of water and 2 pills. A note beside it read, For the headache, you definitely have. V. She sat up slowly, her body protesting. The clock said 2:47 p.m. She'd slept for almost 12 hours. The phone rang again. She picked it up. Hello? You're awake, Victor's voice crisp and alert. Good. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a truck. That's the sleep deprivation catching up. Take the pills, drink the water, there's food in the other room. Where are you? Dealing with some things. Marco's outside the door. Don't leave the suite. Victor, I mean it, Lena. Not until I get back. The line went dead. She took the pills, ibuprofen, probably, and drank the entire glass of water. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror looked like a stranger. Hollow cheeks, dark circles, hair that hadn't been properly cut in 2 years. In the living area, she found a spread of food on the dining table. Fruit, pastries, eggs, bacon, toast, enough to feed 6 people. Her stomach growled so loudly it was almost embarrassing. She ate, and ate, and ate. Halfway through her third croissant, the door opened. But it wasn't Victor. It was a woman. Late 20s, like Marco had said. Brunette. Beautiful in a sharp, calculated way. She wore an expensive suit and carried a gun in a shoulder holster that she didn't bother to hide. "Lena Hart," the woman said, closing the door behind her. "We need to talk." Lena stood, her hand moving toward the knife on the table. The woman laughed. "Relax. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead already. I'm here because we have a mutual problem." "Who are you?" "My name is Sophia Russo, and the man who told you to disappear 4 years ago? He works for me." The room spun. "Actually," Sophia continued, sitting down in Victor's chair like she owned it, "he worked for me. Past tense. I killed him 3 months ago when I found out he was freelancing, threatening innocent people for money, people like you." Lena's throat was dry. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because the threat was never real. Victor was never in danger. Not from us, anyway. My family and the D'Angelos have an understanding. We don't touch each other's people. But my former associate didn't care about that. He saw an opportunity to extort you and he took it." "You're lying." "I'm not, and I can prove it." Sophia pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Photos, financial records, everything. Lena didn't touch it. "Even if that's true, why do you care?" "Because someone else has been digging into your disappearance. Someone dangerous. And they're going to figure out you're back any day now. When they do, they won't just come for you. They'll come for Victor, and that breaks our understanding." "Who?" Sophia's expression hardened. "Alexei Volkov. He's been building power in the shadows for years, and he wants Victor's empire. He'll use you to get it. Then I'll leave. I'll disappear again. It's too late for that. You were seen. Your name is in the hotel system. Marco erased it, but not before someone copied it. Volkov's people have been tracking you for weeks." Lena sank into her chair. "So what do I do?" "You stay. You let Victor protect you, and you help us figure out who in his organization is feeding information to Volkov." "You think there's a traitor?" "I know there is. Someone close to him, someone he trusts." The door slammed open. Victor stood in the doorway, gun drawn, eyes blazing. Marco was behind him, weapon out. "Sophia," Victor said, his voice like ice. "You have 10 seconds to explain why you're in my suite with my wife before I put a bullet in your head." Sophia raised her hand slowly. "We're on the same side, Victor." "That's 5 seconds. Volkov is moving against you, and Lena's the key to his plan." Victor's gun didn't waver. "Keep talking." And as Sophia explained everything, the traitor, the threat, the carefully laid trap that had been 4 years in the making, Lena realized something with absolute certainty: the past hadn't found her. The past had been hunting her all along, and now there was nowhere left to run. Victor's gun stayed trained on Sophia for another 3 seconds before he lowered it, though his finger remained near the trigger. Marco moved to the side, blocking the door, his own weapon still drawn. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. "Start from the beginning," Victor said. "And if I think you're lying even once, you're done." Sophia's hands were still raised, but her expression remained calm, almost bored, like having guns pointed at her was a regular Tuesday. "Can I sit down, or are we doing this action movie style?" "You're already sitting." "Fair point." She lowered her hands slowly and straightened in the chair. "Alexei Volkov has been building his operation for 6 years. Quiet, methodical. He's not flashy like the old guard. He doesn't make noise. He just takes pieces off the board one by one until suddenly he owns the whole game." "I know who Volkov is," Victor said. "What I don't know is why you're in my suite talking to my wife about him." "Because 3 months ago, one of my people, a guy named Dominic Sardo, got greedy. Started doing side work, extortion mostly. He found out about Lena, found out she was your weak spot, and saw dollar signs." Sophia pulled out a cigarette, then seemed to think better of it and put it back. "He's the one who told her to run, threatened her, made her think you'd die if she stayed." Lena's voice was barely a whisper. "You said you killed him." "I did. Put 2 in his chest when I found out what he'd done. But by then, the damage was done. You were gone. Victor was tearing the city apart looking for you. And Volkov saw an opportunity." Victor's jaw tightened. "What kind of opportunity?" The kind where a powerful man becomes unstable because the woman he loves vanished. The kind where his focus splits. His organization starts showing cracks. Sophia leaned forward. For 4 years you've been bleeding, losing territory, losing men. You think that's coincidence? I think you're full of shit. Am I? When's the last time you slept more than 3 hours? When's the last time you made a decision without second-guessing it? When's the last time you trusted someone completely? She gestured toward Marco. Even him. You trust him, but you verify everything he does. You've been compromised, Victor. Not by Volkov directly, by the hole Lena left behind. The words hit like a physical blow. Lena saw it in the way Victor's shoulders tensed, the way his hand flexed around his gun. Because Sophia was right. She could see it in the lines around his eyes, the gray threading through his dark hair. 4 years had aged him. And now she's back, Sophia continued, which means Volkov's going to make his move. Soon. How do you know this? Because I have someone inside his organization, someone who's been feeding me information for the past year. She pulled out her phone and showed Victor a series of text messages. He sent me this 2 days ago. Volkov's planning something big, something that involves both of you. Victor took the phone and read, his expression darkening with each line. When he handed it back, his voice was ice. Who's the traitor in my organization? That's the part I don't know yet. My source couldn't get that information without blowing his cover. But whoever it is, they're close to you. Close enough to know your schedule, your movements, your weaknesses. Give me names. I can't, not without proof. You start accusing people based on my word alone, the real traitor goes underground and we lose our chance to stop Volkov. Victor turned to Marco. What do you think? Marco holstered his gun. I think she's telling the truth, or at least part of it. We've had issues. Small things. Shipments that get intercepted right before they arrive. Meetings where the other party knows things they shouldn't. I've been tracking it, but every time I get close, the trail goes cold. Why didn't you tell me? I did. 3 times. You told me to handle it. Victor closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, he looked at Lena. Did you know any of this? No, I swear. The man who threatened me, Dominic, he just showed me photos and told me to disappear. I didn't know it was a setup. 4 years, Victor said quietly. 4 years you were running from a ghost. I was trying to protect you. I know. And that's the only reason I'm not losing my mind right now. He turned back to Sophia. What do you want? An alliance. Temporary. Until Volkov's handled. And after? We go back to our corners and pretend this never happened. Victor studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. Fine. But if you're lying, if this is some elaborate setup, I'll burn your entire family to the ground. Noted. Sophia stood. I'll be in touch. In the meantime, keep Lena close. Don't let her out of your sight. Volkov's people will try to grab her the second they think they can. They can try. Sophia's smile was sharp. That's what I'm counting on. She left, and the suite fell into heavy silence. Marco excused himself, muttering something about perimeter checks. And then it was just Victor and Lena, standing on opposite sides of the room like strangers. You should have told me, Victor said finally, 4 years ago, when that bastard threatened you. You should have come to me. I was scared. Of what? Me? Of losing you. Lena's voice cracked. He showed me pictures, Victor. Pictures of you getting into your car. Pictures of you at your office. He knew everything, and he said if I didn't leave, if I didn't disappear completely, you'd be dead within a week. What was I supposed to do? Trust me. I did trust you. That's why I left. Because I knew you'd try to fight them. Knew you'd put yourself in danger to keep me safe. And I couldn't... Her breath hitched. I couldn't watch you die because of me. Victor crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. She collapsed against him, 4 years of fear and exhaustion finally breaking through. He held her while she cried, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other around her waist. I'm sorry, she whispered against his chest. I'm so sorry. Stop apologizing. I ruined everything. You survived. That's what matters. But you... I'm fine. You're not fine. Sophia was right. You look like you haven't slept in years. I haven't. Not well, anyway. His hand moved to her chin, tilting her face up. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw you. Wondered if you were okay, if you were eating, if you were safe. It was torture. I thought about you every day. Yeah? Every single day. I'd see something stupid, a dog in a park, a song on the radio, a man in a black coat, and think of you. Miss you so much it felt like dying. Victor's thumb brushed away her tears. We're not doing that again. Whatever comes next, we face it together. No more running, no more secrets. Okay. I mean it, Lena. If someone threatens you, you tell me. If you're scared, you tell me. If you want to leave, you tell me first and we figure it out. But you don't disappear. Not again. I won't. Promise me. I promise. He kissed her then, slow and deep, like he was trying to memorize the shape of her mouth, the taste of her. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with something between possession and relief. You're staying at the penthouse. Not here. Somewhere I can protect you properly. Victor, I can't just... Yes, you can. I already had Marco move your things. Not that there was much to move. Lena stiffened. You went to my apartment? I sent Marco. That's not better. Your landlord was trying to evict you for unpaid rent. I paid off your lease 6 months in advance, then had the building condemned. You what? It was a health hazard. Mold in the walls, exposed wiring. The fire marshal was thrilled to shut it down. You can't just... I can, and I did. He kissed her forehead. You're not going back there, Lena. You're not working yourself to death in some hotel or living in a place where the heat doesn't work. You're coming home. This isn't my home anymore. It never stopped being your home. You just weren't in it. The words settled over her like a blanket. Heavy, warm, suffocating and comforting at the same time. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him this was too much, too fast. But the truth was, she was tired of running, tired of being cold and hungry and alone. Okay, she whispered. Okay? I'll stay, for now, until this thing with Volkov is handled. And after? I don't know. Ask me after. Victor's smile was small but genuine. I'll take it. They left the hotel an hour later through a service entrance that Marco had cleared. 2 black SUVs waited in the alley, engines running, windows tinted so dark Lena couldn't see inside. Victor guided her into the first one, his hand never leaving her back. The penthouse was exactly how she remembered it. Sleek, modern, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the city that made her feel like she was standing on top of the world. But it was also different, colder somehow, like Victor had stopped caring about the details that used to matter. Your room is the same, he said, leading her down the hall. I didn't touch anything. He opened the door and Lena's breath caught. It was exactly the same, her books on the shelf, her painting on the wall, the one she'd found at a flea market and loved for reasons she couldn't explain. Even her slippers were still beside the bed, like she'd just stepped out and would be back any minute. You kept it, she said. Of course I did. Why? Because it's yours, and I always knew you'd come back. You couldn't have known that. I believed it. That's the same thing. He leaned against the doorframe. Get some rest. We'll talk strategy tomorrow. I'm not tired. You slept 12 hours and you still look exhausted. Rest, Lena. What about you? I have work to do. Victor, I'll be fine. Marco's running security checks. I need to make some calls, figure out who I can trust. His expression darkened. Figure out who's been selling me out. Lena wanted to argue, but she could see the exhaustion in his eyes. The weight he'd been carrying for 4 years. Arguing would only make it worse. Okay, she said, but if you need anything, I'll let you know. He left, closing the door behind him. Lena stood in the middle of the room, surrounded by the ghost of who she used to be. The woman who'd lived here had been different, softer, more hopeful. The woman who'd worked 3 jobs and slept in a room with broken heat was harder, sharper. She didn't know which version of herself Victor wanted back. Didn't know if that version even existed anymore. She actually showered, with water pressure that didn't sputter, and soap that didn't smell like industrial chemicals. Changed into pajamas she found in the drawer, still folded neatly like she'd left them. Climbed into a bed that felt too big and too soft. And lay there, wide awake, listening to the sound of Victor's voice through the walls. He was on the phone, talking low and fast. She caught fragments. Don't care what it costs, and find them. And want names by morning? She must have fallen asleep eventually because she woke to the sound of breaking glass. Lena bolted upright, heart hammering. The clock said 3:17 a.m. Another crash, shouting, Victor's voice, loud and furious. She ran into the hall. The living room was destroyed. A lamp shattered on the floor, papers scattered everywhere, and Victor stood in the middle of it, phone in one hand, the other braced against the wall like he was holding himself up. What happened? Lena asked. He turned. His eyes were bloodshot. A muscle in his jaw ticked. Nothing. Go back to bed. That's not nothing. It's handled. Victor, one of my warehouses got hit, 2 men dead, $500,000 in product gone. He threw his phone across the room. It hit the wall and cracked. And the security footage was erased from the inside. The traitor. The traitor. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Someone I pay, someone I trust, someone who's been feeding information to Volkov for who knows how long. Lena crossed the room and took his hands. They were shaking. We'll find them. How? I've got 20 people with access to that system, 20 people who could have done this. I start pointing fingers without proof. I create chaos. And chaos is exactly what Volkov wants. Then we don't point fingers. We set a trap. Victor looked at her, really looked at her. What kind of trap? The kind where you give the traitor something too good to resist, something they have to report back to Volkov. And when they do, we follow the thread. That's risky. Everything's risky right now. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just used to be too distracted by my legs to notice. A surprised laugh broke from his chest. There she is. Who? The woman I married. The one who used to argue with me about philosophy at 2 a.m. The one who made me laugh even when I wanted to break things. That woman had better circumstances. That woman is still in there. I can see her. His hand cupped her cheek, and I'm going to make sure she doesn't have to hide anymore. They stood like that for a while, holding each other in the wreckage of Victor's anger. Eventually, he pulled back and started picking up the broken glass. Lena helped, even though he tried to stop her. I can hire someone to do this, he said. I know, but I'm already here. They cleaned in silence. When the room was mostly back to normal, Victor poured himself a drink and sat on the couch. Lena sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. Tell me about the 4 years, he said quietly. What you did, where you went. It's not a happy story. I don't need happy. I need to know. So she told him. About the first 6 months, when she'd moved to a different city and worked at a diner where the owner paid under the table. About the man who tried to follow her home and how she'd moved again, this time to a smaller town where nobody asked questions. About the string of jobs, waitress, cleaner, factory worker, hotel maid. About the nights when she was so hungry she stole food from restaurant dumpsters. About the time she got mugged and fought back hard enough that the guy ran. About the endless, crushing loneliness. Victor listened without interrupting, but she felt the tension radiating from him. The barely controlled rage at every injustice, every moment of suffering. I'm going to find everyone who hurt you, he said when she finished, and I'm going to make them regret it. That's not necessary. It is to me. Victor, no, you don't get to tell me not to care. You don't get to minimize what you went through. His hand found hers and squeezed. You survived 4 years of hell because of a lie. Because some greedy bastard wanted to make money off your fear. That's not okay. And I'm going to make it right. How? However I have to. The darkness in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it felt like safety, like someone finally giving a damn that she'd suffered. Okay, she said. Okay? Do what you need to do. Just don't get yourself killed in the process. I won't. I've got too much to live for now. He pulled her into his lap and she went willingly, curled against his chest like she used to, listening to his heartbeat, feeling the rise and fall of his breathing. They stayed like that until the sun started to rise, painting the city in shades of gold and pink. We should sleep, Lena murmured. Probably. Neither of them moved. The phone rang. Victor's new one, the replacement for the one he'd smashed. He answered without moving Lena from his lap. What? Marco's voice, tinny through the speaker. We've got a problem. Of course we do. What kind? The kind where Alexei Volkov just requested a meeting with you today. Victor's entire body tensed. Where? Neutral ground. The old Rothschild building. Noon. That's a setup. Probably. But he said if you don't show, he'll assume you're too weak to negotiate, and he'll start taking territory by force. Let him try. Boss, I'm not walking into a trap, Marco. Then don't. Send someone else, or tell him to go to hell. But either way, we need to respond. Silence makes us look scared. Victor was quiet for a long moment, then, set it up. But not the Rothschild building, somewhere public, somewhere he can't pull anything without consequences. Where? The Meridian Hotel, main restaurant, lunch rush, lots of witnesses. He won't like that. I don't care what he likes. Those are my terms. And if he refuses, then we go to war. But on my timeline, not his. Marco hung up. Victor set the phone down and looked at Lena. You're not coming, he said before she could ask. I wasn't going to offer. Good. But I want you to wear a vest and take extra security. I always wear a vest. Humor me. Take extra security. His smile was faint. Yes, ma'am. I'm serious, Victor. I know. And I love that you are. He kissed her temple. But I've been doing this a long time. I know how to handle men like Volkov. Men like Volkov are the reason I left. No. Men like Dominic Sarto are the reason you left. Volkov's different. He's smart, calculating. He won't make a move unless he's sure he'll win. That doesn't make me feel better. It should. Because it means he's not ready yet. This meeting? It's reconnaissance. He wants to see if I'm weak, if I'm vulnerable, and I'm going to show him I'm neither. Lena wanted to argue, wanted to beg him not to go, but she knew it wouldn't matter. Victor was going to that meeting whether she liked it or not, because that's who he was. A man who met his enemies head on and dared them to blink first. Just come back, she said quietly. I will. I promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. He kissed her, long and slow and thorough, like he was trying to burn the feeling into his memory. When he pulled back, his eyes were serious. If something happens to me, don't. If something happens, Marco will get you out. He'll take you somewhere safe, somewhere Volkov can't reach. I don't want somewhere safe. I want you. And you'll have me. But I need to know you'll run if things go sideways. I need to know you won't do something stupid like try to save me. Saving you is literally what got me into this mess. Which is why I'm asking you not to do it again. His hands framed her face. Promise me, Lena. If things go bad, you run. You don't look back. You don't wait for me. You just run. She wanted to refuse, wanted to tell him she'd burn the whole city down before she left him behind. But the look in his eyes, desperate, pleading, broke her. I promise, she whispered. Thank you. He held her until the sun was fully up. Until Marco knocked on the door and said it was time to go. Until Lena had no choice but to let him walk out, armor on, gun holstered, ready to face the man who wanted to destroy everything he'd built. The door closed, and Lena stood in the center of the penthouse, surrounded by luxury and silence, praying to a god she didn't believe in that Victor would make it back alive. The minutes dragged like hours. Lena paced the length of the penthouse, her footsteps silent on the expensive carpet, her mind spinning through every worst-case scenario. Victor shot in a restaurant full of witnesses, Victor ambushed in the parking garage, Victor never making it to the meeting at all because Volkov's men grabbed him off the street. She checked her phone. 11:47 a.m. He'd been gone for 2 hours. The penthouse felt like a cage, beautiful, luxurious, suffocating. She walked to the window and stared down at the city, searching for his car, even though she knew she wouldn't see it from this high up. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. He's walking into a trap. If you want him to survive, come to the back entrance of the Meridian. Alone. You have 10 minutes. Lena's heart stopped. Her first instinct was to call Marco, to forward the message, to do exactly what Victor had told her to do. But something held her back. The memory of his voice. Promise me, Lena. If things go bad, You run. But what if running meant letting him die? What if the trap was designed specifically to separate them, to make her choose between her promise and his life? She looked at the message again. 8 minutes now. Her hands were shaking as she grabbed her jacket and headed for the door. One of Victor's men stood outside, arms crossed, expressionless. I need to go out, Lena said. Can't let you do that, Mrs. D'Angelo. Boss's orders. I'm not asking. Still can't help you. Lena's mind raced. She couldn't fight her way past him, couldn't outrun him, but she could outsmart him. She pulled out her phone and dialed Victor's number, letting it ring once before hanging up. He's calling me back, she lied. He needs me to check something in the office. Documents for the meeting. The guard's expression didn't change. He would have told me. He didn't have time. He's about to sit down with Volkov. Do you really want to be the reason he doesn't have what he needs? Doubt flickered across the man's face. What documents? Financial records. In the safe. He gave me the combination last night. It was a gamble. A bad one. But the guard hesitated just long enough for Lena to push past him toward Victor's office. He followed, hand moving to his radio, but she was already at the safe, spinning the dial like she knew what she was doing. Mrs. D'Angelo. Just give me 2 minutes. If I'm lying, you can drag me back to my room and tell Victor I'm insane. The guard watched, uncertain. Lena pretended to work the combination, her back to him, counting seconds. Then she turned, empty-handed. It's not opening. He must have changed it. I'll call Marco. No, wait. Maybe I wrote it down wrong. She pulled out her phone, pretending to check notes, and started walking back toward the hall. The guard followed, and when they reached the elevator, Lena hit the button and stepped inside before he could stop her. Mrs. D'Angelo, you need to... The doors closed. She rode down to the parking garage, heart hammering, knowing she had maybe 3 minutes before the guard called Marco and all hell broke loose. Victor's spare car keys were in a lockbox by the elevator. She'd seen him use it once. She tried his birthday. Wrong. Their anniversary. The box clicked open. 60 seconds later, she was driving out of the garage in a black Mercedes that probably cost more than she'd made in her entire life. Her phone started ringing. Marco. She ignored it. The Meridian Hotel was 12 blocks away. Traffic was heavy. She ran 2 red lights and nearly clipped a taxi making an illegal turn. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Marco. The guard. A number she didn't recognize. She parked in a loading zone and ran for the back entrance. A service door propped open with a crate. She slipped inside. The hallway was empty. Fluorescent lights, concrete floors, the smell of industrial cleaner and old grease. Lena's footsteps echoed as she moved deeper into the building, following signs toward the kitchen. Hello? She called. No answer. She reached for her phone to call Victor, to tell him she was here, to warn him. Something hard and cold pressed against the back of her head. Don't move, a man's voice said. Don't scream. Don't do anything stupid. Lena froze. Her phone slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor. Good girl. Now walk, straight ahead, through that door. She walked. The gun never left her skull. Through the door, into a storage room filled with stacked chairs and folded tablecloths. And standing in the center, smoking a cigarette like he had all the time in the world, was a man she'd never seen before. Tall, blonde, cold blue eyes that looked at her like she was a bug. He was deciding whether to step on. Alexei Volkov. Lena Hart, he said, dropping the cigarette and crushing it under his shoe. Or should I say Lena D'Angelo? I've heard so much about you. Where's Victor? Upstairs, having lunch, wondering why I'm 15 minutes late. Volkov smiled. He'll figure it out soon enough. If you hurt him, you'll what? You're not in a position to make threats, sweetheart. He gestured to the man with the gun. Tie her up. Make sure it's tight. The man grabbed her arms and zip-tied her wrists behind her back. The plastic bit into her skin. He shoved her into a chair and tied her ankles to the legs. This is the part where you tell me your evil plan, right? Lena said, trying to keep her voice steady. Monologue about how smart you are? Volkov laughed. I like her, Yuri. She's got spine. She's got a mouth, Yuri muttered. That too. Volkov pulled up another chair and sat facing Lena, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Expensive. Suffocating. Here's what's going to happen. In about 5 minutes, Victor's going to get a photo of you tied up in this room, and then he's going to get a very simple message. Come alone, or she dies. He won't come alone. Of course he will. Because he loves you. And love makes people stupid. Volkov leaned back. He'll walk right into my trap. And when he does, I'll have everything I need. His territory, his connections, his empire. All of it. You'll have to kill him first. That's the idea. And you think his people will just let that happen? Marco will tear this city apart. Marco will be dead too. So will anyone else who tries to stand in my way. Volkov's smile faded. You don't understand the game, Lena. Victor's been losing for 4 years. Slowly, quietly. He's been distracted, weak. And in this world, weakness is death. He's not weak. No? He spent 4 years chasing a ghost. Let his organization bleed, made enemies when he should have made deals. All because he couldn't let you go. Volkov shook his head. That's not strength. That's obsession. And obsession is just another word for weakness. Lena's mind raced. She needed to stall, needed to buy time for Victor to realize something was wrong. If you're so smart, why haven't you made your move before now? Because I needed the right leverage. You. The woman he'd burn the world down for. The woman who makes him reckless. Volkov stood. Take the photo, Yuri. Yuri pulled out his phone and snapped a picture of Lena tied to the chair. She didn't fight it, didn't look away, just stared directly into the camera with as much defiance as she could manage. Perfect, Volkov said. Send it. Yuri's fingers moved across the screen. 30 seconds later, somewhere upstairs, Victor's phone would buzz with the worst image of his life. Lena closed her eyes and prayed he wouldn't do exactly what Volkov expected. Upstairs, in the Meridian Hotel's main restaurant, Victor sat at a corner table with a perfect view of the entrance and exits. Marco stood 5 feet away, hand near his weapon. 2 more men were stationed by the doors, another in the kitchen, another in the lobby. Volkov was late. Victor checked his watch, 17 minutes late. His phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and his entire world stopped. Lena, tied to a chair, wrists bound behind her back, fear in her eyes that she was trying desperately to hide. And below the photo, a message. Storage room, 2nd basement level. Come alone or I start cutting pieces off her. You have 5 minutes. Victor's hand tightened around the phone, hard enough that the screen cracked. Marco saw his expression and moved closer. Boss? Victor showed him the photo. Marco's face went hard. It's a trap. I know. He's trying to separate you from security. I know. If you go down there alone, you're dead. I know. Victor stood. But I'm going anyway. Boss, if it was someone you loved, would you walk away? Marco was silent. That's what I thought. Victor pulled his gun and checked the chamber. Give me 3 minutes. If I'm not back, you come in loud. 2 minutes. Fine, 2 minutes. But if you hear gunfire before then, all bets are off. Victor walked toward the kitchen, moving fast but not running. Running would draw attention. Through the swinging doors, past the line cooks who didn't look up from their stations, into the service hallway, down the stairs. The 2nd basement level was quiet. Too quiet. Victor's footsteps echoed on the concrete. He kept his gun low but ready, finger on the trigger, eyes scanning for movement. He found the storage room. Door closed. No sound from inside. He kicked it open and went in fast, gun raised. Lena was exactly where the photo showed her, tied to a chair in the center of the room, alone. Too easy. It's a trap, Lena said immediately. Victor, it's a trap. You need to... The door slammed shut behind him. Locks clicked, and from the shadows on either side of the room, 4 men emerged with guns drawn. Volkov stepped out last, clapping slowly. Bravo. Right on time. Love really does make people predictable. Victor didn't lower his weapon. Let her go. Or what? You'll shoot me? You're outnumbered 4-1, 5-1 if you count me. And if you pull that trigger, my men will kill you and her both. Then we're at a stalemate. Not quite. Volkov nodded to one of his men, who pressed a gun to Lena's temple. Drop your weapon, now, or I'll paint the walls with her brain. Victor's jaw clenched. He looked at Lena. She was shaking her head frantically, mouthing the word no. But he wasn't listening, couldn't listen. Because the gun against her head was real, and the man holding it looked eager to pull the trigger. He lowered his weapon. Good. Now kick it over here. Victor kicked the gun across the floor. It skidded to a stop at Volkov's feet. Much better. Now we can talk like civilized people. Volkov picked up the gun and examined it. Nice piece. Custom grip. You always did have expensive taste. What do you want? What do I want? I want your territory, your operations, your connections, everything you've built. And in exchange, I'll let you and your lovely wife walk out of here alive. You expect me to believe that? I expect you to be smart enough to know when you've lost. Volkov gestured to his men. I have you surrounded. I have Lena. I have leverage you can't beat. You can fight me and die here, or you can walk away and live to rebuild somewhere else. Your choice. Victor's mind raced through options. Marco would be here in 90 seconds. Maybe less. He just needed to stall. And if I refuse, then I kill her in front of you. Then I kill you. Then I take everything anyway. The only difference is how much blood ends up on this floor. You're bluffing. Am I? Volkov nodded to the man holding Lena. Show him. The man cocked his gun, pressed it harder against Lena's skull. She whimpered, couldn't help it, and the sound broke something in Victor's chest. Stop, Victor said. Stop. I'll do it. Whatever you want. That's better, now. The lights went out, complete darkness. Someone shouted. Gunfire erupted, muzzle flashes lighting the room in strobing bursts. Victor dropped to the ground and rolled left, trusting muscle memory and 4 years of paranoia. His hand found something metal, a folding chair. He grabbed it and swung blind, felt it connect with someone's skull. A grunt. A body hitting the floor, more gunfire, shouting, the sound of the door being kicked in. Boss! Marco's voice, loud over the chaos. Down! Victor hit the ground again. Bullets tore through the air where he'd been standing. Return fire from the doorway. One of Volkov's men screamed. Another went down. Someone crashed into Victor from the side. They grappled in the darkness, trading punches. Victor took an elbow to the jaw that made his vision blur. Returned with a knee to the ribs. Found the man's throat and squeezed until he went limp. The emergency lights kicked on, bathing everything in red. 3 of Volkov's men were down. The 4th was pinned behind an overturned table, trading shots with Marco. And Volkov himself was gone. The coward had run the second the lights went out, but Lena was still tied to the chair, frozen in the crossfire. Victor ran to her, keeping low, pulled a knife from his boot and cut through the zip ties. She fell forward into his arms, shaking. I've got you, he said against her hair. I've got you. You're okay. He ran, Lena gasped. Volkov, he went through that door. Victor looked where she pointed. A service exit, still swinging. He wanted to chase him, wanted to put a bullet in the bastard's skull. But Lena was trembling in his arms, and Marco was still pinned down, and the smart play was to get out alive. Marco! Victor shouted. We're leaving! Marco laid down covering fire. The last of Volkov's men tried to return it, but Marco's aim was better. The man went down clutching his shoulder. They ran, Victor half carrying Lena, Marco covering their backs. Through the service hallway, up the stairs, past shocked kitchen staff and confused guests, out the front entrance where 3 black SUVs were waiting, engines running. They piled into the middle vehicle. Marco shouted orders into his radio. The convoy pulled out fast, tires screaming. Lena was still shaking. Victor pulled her close, checking her over for injuries. Did he hurt you? No, just scared me. You shouldn't have come. I told you to stay at the penthouse. He sent me a message, said you were walking into a trap, that I had 10 minutes to save you. So you walked into a trap instead. I couldn't just let you die. And I couldn't let you die. Victor's hand cupped her face. We're a mess, you know that? I know. Can't follow simple instructions, can't stay out of danger. Sounds familiar. He kissed her. Hard and desperate, tasting like fear and relief. When he pulled back, his eyes were intense. This ends now. Volkov tried to kill us. Both of us. That means the rules are off. What are you going to do? What I should have done 4 years ago. Burn his organization to the ground. Marco turned from the front seat. We need to find the traitor first. Volkov knew too much. Knew where Lena was. Knew about the meeting. Someone fed him that information. Then we set the trap, Lena said. Both men looked at her. I told you before. We give the traitor something too good to resist, false information that only one person would know. And when it gets back to Volkov, we know who to eliminate. Victor's smile was dangerous. I knew I married you for a reason. My stunning personality? That too. He turned to Marco. Who has access to my schedule? 8 people. Me, your assistant, your driver, and 5 others in your inner circle. Can you trust your assistant? With my life. She's been with me for 12 years. Her kid goes to school on my dime. The driver? Same family for 3 generations. His grandfather drove for my father. That leaves 5. Yeah. Cut it down to 3. Who has the most to gain from selling me out? Marco thought for a moment. Anthony Russo. He's been pushing for more territory. Thinks you're too cautious. Who else? David Chen. His brother got killed in a deal that went bad 6 months ago. He blamed you for it. I remember. I told him not to go through with it. He did it anyway. Third? Thomas Bellamy, your accountant. He's got gambling debts, bad ones. Victor's expression darkened. How bad? 500,000, maybe more. He's been hiding it, but I've got people watching. Then we start with him. Victor pulled out his phone and dialed. Thomas, it's Victor. I need you at the penthouse in an hour. Bring the offshore account records, all of them. A pause. I don't care if it's Saturday, 1 hour. He hung up. Marco, I want surveillance on him from the moment he hangs up this call. See who he contacts. On it. They drove in silence for a while. Lena's head rested on Victor's shoulder, her hand clutched in his. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her exhausted and shaky. You were right, Victor said quietly. About what? 4 years ago, when you said people were trying to kill me. You were right. I wish I'd been wrong. Me too. He kissed the top of her head. But you're here now, and I'm not letting anyone take you away again. Not Volkov, not some traitor in my organization, no one. What if they try? Then I'll kill them. The certainty in his voice should have been frightening. Instead, it made Lena feel safe for the first time in 4 years, because Victor D'Angelo wasn't a good man, wasn't gentle or soft or forgiving, but he was hers, and he would burn the world down before he let her go. They arrived at the penthouse, more security than before. Men stationed on every floor, checking IDs, scanning for threats. The elevator ride up was tense, silent except for Marco's radio crackling with updates. Inside, Victor poured himself a drink and downed it in one swallow, poured another, offered one to Lena. She shook her head. I need to think clearly. Suit yourself. He drank the second glass slower. When Thomas gets here, I want you in the bedroom. Door locked. Don't come out until I tell you it's safe. I want to hear what he says. Lena, I'm part of this now. You can't protect me from it. I can try. And I can refuse to cooperate. She crossed her arms. I'm not hiding while you handle this. We're in it together. Remember? Victor looked at Marco. Talk some sense into her. I'm not getting in the middle of this, Marco said, holding up his hands. You two figure it out. Traitor. Just practical. The intercom buzzed. Mr. D'Angelo, Thomas Bellamy is here. Victor pressed the button. Send him up. He looked at Lena. Stay behind me. If anything happens, you run. Promise me. I promise. I mean it. I know. Thomas Bellamy stepped off the elevator 2 minutes later, looking nervous. Mid-40s, thinning hair, expensive suit that didn't quite fit right. He carried a briefcase and avoided eye contact. Victor, you wanted to see me? Come in, Thomas. Have a seat. Thomas sat on the couch, setting the briefcase beside him. His hands were shaking. Is something wrong? That depends. Is there something you want to tell me? I don't know what you mean. Victor walked slowly around the couch, circling like a predator. I hear you've been having money problems. Thomas went pale. That's personal business. Personal business becomes my business when you're handling my money. I haven't touched your accounts. I swear. I believe you, but I also know you're in debt. $500,000. And when people get desperate, they make bad choices. I'm not desperate. No? Then why did you call someone 30 seconds after I called you? Thomas froze. Don't lie to me. Victor's voice dropped to something dangerous. I've known you for 7 years, Thomas. I've paid you well, trusted you, and this is how you repay me? I didn't. Who did you call? No one. Marco stepped forward and dropped a phone on the table. Thomas's phone. Call log shows a number, burner phone, registered to a shell company. Want to guess who owns it? Thomas's face crumbled. Please, Victor, please. They said they'd kill my family, my wife, my kids. Who said that? Volkov's people. They knew about the debts. Said if I didn't feed them information, they'd hurt my family. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. You don't understand. These people, I understand perfectly. Victor leaned down until he was eye level with Thomas. You sold me out to save yourself. Got 2 of my men killed in that warehouse raid. Almost got my wife killed today. And you want me to feel sorry for you? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Not good enough. Victor pulled his gun. Thomas's eyes went wide. Wait, please. I'll do anything. I'll fix this. You'll call Volkov's contact, Victor said calmly. Right now. And you'll tell them exactly what I tell you to say. Thomas swallowed hard. Okay, yes. Whatever you want. Good. Victor handed him the phone. Tell them I'm moving a shipment tonight. 20 million in product. From the warehouse on 5th Street to a distribution center upstate. Tell them the route, the time, everything. But that's not real. It's bait. And Volkov's going to take it because he's greedy and stupid, and when he does, we'll be waiting. Thomas's hand shook as he dialed. The call connected. He repeated everything Victor told him, his voice cracking with fear. When he hung up, he looked like he might pass out. Did I do okay? Perfect. Victor took the phone back. Marco, take him to the safe house. Keep him there until this is over. What about my family? They're already safe. I had Marco move them this morning. They're in a hotel upstate under assumed names. You'll see them when this is done. Relief flooded Thomas's face. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. You're still paying back every cent you cost me. And if you ever betray me again, I won't be this generous. Marco led Thomas out. The elevator doors closed. Lena stepped out from behind the chair where she'd been watching. You're not really going to hurt him, are you? No, he's weak, not evil, and his family didn't deserve to suffer. Victor set his gun on the table. But Volkov does, and tonight he's going to walk right into our trap. What if he doesn't take the bait? He will. He's been waiting for an opportunity like this. 20 million in product with minimal security? He'll hit it hard and fast. And then what? Then we end this, once and for all. Victor pulled Lena close, his arms wrapping around her like he could shield her from what was coming. She felt his heart beating against her cheek, steady despite everything. I need you to stay here tonight, he said. With extra security. Locked down. I know. I'm serious, Lena. This is going to get violent, and I can't focus if I'm worried about you. I'll stay. But you have to promise you'll come back. I promise. Alive. Come back alive. That's the plan. She pulled back to look at him. I love you. I should have said it before, 4 years ago. I should have told you instead of just running. Victor's expression softened. I know. I've always known. You can't know something I never said. Yes, I can. Because I know you, and I know why you ran. And I know you've loved me since the night we met at that terrible art gallery where you told me the paintings looked like someone threw up on canvas. Lena laughed despite everything. They did. I know. That's why I bought 3 of them. You're insane. About you? Absolutely. He kissed her. Soft this time. Gentle. When this is over, we're leaving town for a while. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one's trying to kill us. That sounds nice. We'll figure out what comes next. Together. I'd like that. Victor held her until the sun started to set. Until Marco returned and said everything was in place. Until it was time to go. At the door, Victor turned back one more time. Looked at Lena like he was memorizing her face. I'll see you soon. You better. He left. and Lena stood in the center of the penthouse, surrounded by armed guards and reinforced locks, praying that this time the trap would work, that this time they'd be the ones walking away. The warehouse on 5th Street sat dark and silent at 11:47 p.m., exactly 13 minutes before Volkov's people were supposed to hit it. Victor crouched behind a stack of shipping crates with Marco on his left and 4 other men spread throughout the building. The air smelled like oil and rust. Moonlight cut through the high windows and silver bars. "Anything?" Victor whispered into his radio. "North entrance clear," came the response. "East side clear." "South clear." Victor checked his watch again. 11:49. His phone buzzed. A text from Lena. "Still alive?" He typed back. "For now. Stay inside." "I'm not an idiot." "Debatable?" "Come home safe or I'm coming to get you." That's exactly what an idiot would say. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, "I love you too, jackass." Victor smiled despite the situation. Pocketed his phone, checked his gun for the 3rd time, even though he knew it was loaded. Midnight came and went. Nothing. 12:15, still nothing. Marco shifted beside him. Maybe he's not coming. He's coming, he's just being careful. Or Thomas warned him. Thomas is locked in a room with no phone and 2 guards. He didn't warn anyone. Then where is he? Good question. Victor's instincts were screaming that something was wrong. Volkov should have hit by now. The bait was too good. 20 million in product, minimal security, a known route. Any sane criminal would jump on it. Unless Volkov wasn't coming here at all. Unless he'd figured out it was a trap. Unless... Victor's phone rang. Not a call. An alarm. The security system at the penthouse. His blood turned to ice. "It's a diversion," he said, already running for the exit. "He's not hitting the warehouse. He's hitting the penthouse." Marco swore and followed. They burst out of the warehouse into the parking lot where their cars waited. Victor's driver had the engine running before he reached the door. "How fast can you get us back?" Victor demanded. 12 minutes if I break every traffic law." "Make it 8. The driver floored it. The car screamed out of the lot, tires smoking. Victor's phone was already dialing the penthouse security. "Report," he barked. Static. Then, "We've got multiple hostiles, 3rd floor. They came up through the..." Gunfire drowned out the rest. The line went dead. Victor tried Lena's number. It rang once, then went to voicemail. He tried again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. "Faster," he told the driver. "I'm doing 90 in a 45. I don't care if you're doing 200. Faster!" The city blurred past. They ran red lights, cut through an alley, nearly clipped a pedestrian. Marco was on his radio coordinating backup, his voice tight with controlled panic. 7 minutes. 6. 5. Victor's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. "Hello, Victor." Volkov's voice, smooth and amused. "Looking for something?" "If you hurt her, you'll what?" "You're not here." "I am. And your lovely wife is putting up quite a fight. I'll give her that. Broke Yuri's nose with a lamp. Very impressive." "Let me talk to her." "I don't think so, but I'll give you a choice. You can come back here and try to save her, or you can keep driving and maybe, just maybe, I'll let her live." "You're lying." "Probably, but you won't know unless you come find out, will you?" The sound of glass breaking. Lena's voice in the background shouting something Victor couldn't make out. "Clock's ticking, Victor. What's it gonna be?" The line went dead. 4 minutes. The building came into view. Smoke poured from a 3rd-floor window. Victor was out of the car before it fully stopped, gun drawn, running for the entrance. The lobby was chaos. His security team pinned down behind the front desk, trading fire with 3 of Volkov's men on the stairs. Victor didn't slow down. He shot the first man on the stairs. Center mass. Clean kill. The second turned and Victor put 2 rounds in his chest. The third tried to run and Marco dropped him with a headshot. "Third floor," Victor shouted, taking the stairs 3 at a time. The 3rd-floor hallway was a war zone. Bullet holes in the walls, blood on the carpet. 2 of his men down, not moving. Victor's heart hammered as he approached the penthouse door. It was open, hanging off one hinge. Inside, the furniture was destroyed. The couch overturned, glass everywhere. And in the center of the room, Lena stood with her hands raised, a gun pointed at her head by a man Victor recognized. Yuri, the same bastard who'd tied her up in the hotel storage room. Yuri's nose was definitely broken, blood streaming down his face. Lena had a cut on her cheek and her knuckles were split, but she was alive, conscious, angry. Volkov stood by the window watching the scene like it was a play put on for his entertainment. There he is, Volkov said. Right on schedule. Love really is predictable. Victor kept his gun trained on Volkov. Let her go. Not yet. First, we're going to have a conversation about the future of this city. There's nothing to talk about. I disagree. See, you have something I want. Territory, connections, respect, and I have something you want. He gestured to Lena. I propose a trade. Go to hell. Colorful, but not practical. Volkov lit a cigarette. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign over half your operations to me. Everything west of the river, the ports, the distribution networks, all of it. In exchange, Lena goes free and we all walk away. And if I refuse, then Yuri puts a bullet in her brain and we take everything anyway. Your choice. Victor's mind raced through options. He could shoot Volkov, but Yuri would kill Lena before he hit the ground. He could shoot Yuri, but Volkov had a gun too, and from this angle he'd hit Lena trying to get a clean shot. He could try to negotiate, buy time for Marco to get into position, but time was the one thing he didn't have. Okay, Victor said, lowering his gun slightly. I'll do it. Victor, no, Lena started. Quiet, Yuri growled, pressing the gun harder against her temple. Smart man, Volkov said. I have the paperwork right here. Just needs your signature. He pulled out a folder, set it on the overturned table, produced a pen. Victor moved toward it slowly, hands visible, gun pointed at the floor. His eyes met Lena's. She was shaking her head frantically, mouthing, "Don't," but he ignored her. He picked up the pen, looked at the papers, and then he looked at Lena and said, I'm sorry. Before anyone could react, he dove left and fired 3 shots. Not at Volkov, not at Yuri, at the window behind Volkov. The glass exploded, and in the chaos of the blast, Lena threw herself backward, slamming into Yuri. The gun went off, but the shot went wild. She twisted in his grip, drove her elbow into his already broken nose. He screamed and loosened his hold just enough for her to break free. Victor was already moving. He closed the distance to Yuri in 2 strides and hit him so hard the man's head snapped back. Yuri stumbled. Victor hit him again, and again. Blood sprayed, bones cracked. Marco burst through the door with 4 men. They swarmed Volkov, who'd pulled his own weapon but didn't get a shot off before Marco disarmed him and put him on the ground, knee in his spine. Don't move, Marco growled. Don't even breathe wrong. Yuri was unconscious on the floor. Victor didn't care. He went straight to Lena and pulled her into his arms, checking her over with shaking hands. Are you hurt? I'm fine. You're bleeding. It's just a cut. I'm fine. You're not fine. His voice broke. I thought I lost you. You didn't. I'm here. I'm okay. He held her so tightly she could barely breathe, his face buried in her hair. She felt him trembling, felt the adrenaline crash hitting him all at once. I'm okay, she whispered again. We're okay. Behind them, Volkov laughed. Even with Marco's knee in his back, even surrounded by armed men, he laughed. You think this is over? He said. You think killing me solves anything? I've got 20 men who'll come for you, 50, 100. You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Victor released Lena and turned to face him, walked over slowly, crouched down so they were eye level. You're right, Victor said quietly. This isn't over. Not yet. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Sophia, it's done. I've got him. Sophia Russo's voice came through the speaker. Alive? For now. Good. Bring him to the old factory. You know the one. What are you planning? A demonstration. One that'll make it very clear what happens to people who break the peace. She paused. And Victor? This makes us even. After tonight, we go back to our corners. Understood. He hung up, looked at Marco. Get him out of here. Take him to the factory on Bleecker Street. Sophia will meet us there. Marco hauled Volkov to his feet. What about this one? He nudged Yuri with his boot. Leave him. He's not important. They dragged Volkov out. He fought the whole way, shouting threats and promises of revenge. The sound faded as they took him downstairs. Lena sank onto the overturned couch, her legs finally giving out. Victor sat beside her, his hand finding hers. "We should get you to a doctor," he said. "I don't need a doctor. Your hands are shaking." "So are yours." He looked down. She was right. His hands were shaking like he had palsy. "Adrenaline," he said. "Same." They sat in the wreckage of the penthouse, holding hands like teenagers, neither one willing to let go. Outside, sirens wailed, police probably, or fire trucks. Someone had definitely called about the smoke and gunfire. "We need to leave," Victor said, "before the cops show up." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe. Somewhere Volkov's people can't find us." He helped her to her feet. "Can you walk?" "I can walk." "Good, because we need to move fast." They went down the service stairs, avoiding the main lobby where police were already arriving. Marco had a car waiting in the underground garage. They got in and drove, leaving the chaos behind. The factory on Bleecker Street was abandoned, had been for 10 years. Broken windows. Graffiti on the walls. The perfect place for the kind of meeting that couldn't happen in public. Sophia was already there when they arrived, along with 6 men who looked like they ate nails for breakfast. Volkov was tied to a chair in the center of the empty warehouse, bleeding from a split lip. "You're late," Sophia said. "Traffic," Victor replied. She looked at Lena. "You must be the famous wife. I've heard a lot about you." "Wish I could say the same," Sophia smiled. "I like her. She's got spine." She turned to Volkov. "Now, let's discuss your future, or lack thereof." Volkov spat blood. "You can't kill me. My organization will eat. Your organization is being dismantled as we speak. My people and Victor's people working together. By morning, you won't have an organization. You'll have a handful of loyal idiots who will be dead or in prison by sunset." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Sophia pulled out her phone and showed him a video, warehouse raids, arrests, assets being seized. "That's happening right now, all of it. Every piece you built, gone." Volkov's face went white. "Here's what's going to happen," Sophia continued. "You're going to leave this city, tonight. You're going to disappear. And if you ever come back, if you ever threaten the peace again, both our families will hunt you down and make sure you vanish permanently. Understood? You can't just, we can. We are." She nodded to her men. "Put him on a plane. I don't care where it goes. Just make sure it's far from here." They cut Volkov loose and dragged him toward the exit. He fought, screamed, promised revenge. But his threats rang hollow now. He was a broken man being shipped off to irrelevance. When he was gone, Sophia turned to Victor. "Where even now? You helped me with the Castellanos situation 2 years ago. I helped you with this. Clean slate." "Clean slate," Victor agreed. "And for what it's worth, I'm glad your wife is safe. The world needs more women willing to fight back." She looked at Lena. "You ever get tired of him? I could use someone with your instincts." Lena smiled. "I'll keep that in mind." Sophia left with her men, and then it was just Victor and Lena in the empty factory, surrounded by shadows and silence. "Is it really over?" Lena asked. "With Volkov? Yes. With everything else?" Victor ran a hand through his hair. "I don't know. There's always someone else. Always another threat." "Then what do we do?" "We adapt. Get smarter. Stay ahead of it." He took her hands. "But first we get out of this city for a while. Let things settle. Let the dust clear. Where would we go? Anywhere you want." "That's a lot of options." "Then start narrowing them down." He pulled her close. "Somewhere warm. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one knows who we are." "That sounds like a fairy tale." "Maybe. But after 4 years of hell, don't we deserve a fairy tale?" Lena rested her head on his chest. "I don't know if people like us get fairy tales." "Then we'll make our own." He kissed the top of her head. "No more running, no more hiding. Just us, figuring out what comes next. And if someone comes after us again, then we deal with it. Together." The word hung in the air like a promise. Together. Not him protecting her, not her sacrificing for him, but both of them, side by side, facing whatever came next. They left the factory as the sun started to rise, painting the city in shades of gold and pink. Marco drove them to a safe house on the edge of town, a quiet place with reinforced doors and enough security to stop a small army. Inside, Lena finally let herself collapse. The adrenaline was gone, leaving her exhausted and shaky. Victor guided her to the bathroom and helped her clean the cut on her face. His hands were gentle despite their size, careful not to hurt her. "This is going to scar," he said. "Good. I'll match you." She touched the scar through his eyebrow. "We can be a matching set." "That's not funny." "It's a little funny." He smiled despite himself. "You're going to be impossible now, aren't you?" "I've always been impossible. You just forgot." "I didn't forget. I just missed it." He finished cleaning her cut and pressed a bandage over it. "There. All patched up. Your turn." She gestured to his split knuckles. "I'm fine." "You're bleeding on the floor. Sit." He sat. She cleaned his hands with the same care he'd shown her, washing away the blood and wrapping his knuckles in gauze. When she finished, she didn't let go, just held his hands in hers, studying the scars and calluses. "I want to know everything," she said quietly. "Everything that happened in the 4 years I was gone. Every deal, every threat, every person who tried to hurt you. That's a long list. We've got time." So he told her. About the weeks after she left, when he'd torn the city apart looking for her. About the investigators he'd hired, the leads that went nowhere. The endless nights wondering if she was alive. About the business deals that fell through because he couldn't focus. About the rivals who saw his distraction as weakness and tried to move in. About the wars he'd fought, the territory he'd lost, the men he'd killed. And Lena listened to every word, her heart breaking for the man who'd spent 4 years in his own kind of hell while she'd been surviving hers. "I'm sorry," she whispered when he finished. "For what?" "For all of it, for leaving, for not trusting you enough to tell you the truth. You were trying to protect me, and I nearly destroyed you instead." "No, you survived. That's all that matters." He cupped her face. "We're both here. We're both alive. Everything else is just details. Important details. Maybe, but we've got time to deal with them." He stood and pulled her to her feet. "Right now, you need sleep. Real sleep. Not the kind where you wake up every hour checking for threats." "What about you?" "I'll sleep when you do." They went to the bedroom. The bed was simple but comfortable, clean sheets that smelled like lavender. Lena climbed in, still wearing her clothes, too tired to change. Victor lay beside her, on top of the covers, one arm around her waist. "Are we really leaving?" she asked into the darkness. "Yes." "When?" "Soon. Few days. Just long enough to make sure everything's stable." "And then what?" "Then we disappear for a while. Find somewhere no one knows us. Live like normal people." "We're not normal people." "No, but we can pretend." His hand traced lazy circles on her back. "Would you want that, a normal life?" "I don't know. What does normal even look like for us?" "Waking up without checking for assassins. Eating breakfast without tasting poison. Going to sleep without a gun under the pillow." "That sounds boring." "Good. I could use boring for a while." Lena turned in his arms so they were face to face. "I love you. I know I said it before, but I need you to really hear it. I love you. I've loved you since the night you told me that stupid story about your grandmother and the stolen chicken." Victor laughed. "That's the moment? That terrible story? It made you real. Not just some dangerous man in an expensive suit. Real, human, mine. I was always yours. From the first moment you told me those paintings looked like vomit." "They did look like vomit." "I know. That's why I liked you." He kissed her forehead. "Sleep now. We'll figure everything else out tomorrow." "Promise?" "Promise." Lena closed her eyes. For the first time in 4 years, she felt safe. Really safe. Not hiding, not running, just safe. She fell asleep to the sound of Victor's heartbeat and didn't wake once. When morning came, sunlight streamed through the windows, warm and golden. Lena woke slowly, her body aching from yesterday's fight, but her mind clear. Victor was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed with his phone, talking quietly. "Don't care what it costs. Buy the whole building if you have to. I want it done by Friday." He saw her watching and ended the call. "Morning." "Morning. What are you buying?" "A house. In the mountains, small town, middle of nowhere." You bought a house while I was sleeping? I made an offer. The realtor thinks it'll go through. He showed her photos on his phone, a cabin-style house surrounded by trees with a view of snow-capped mountains. What do you think? It's beautiful. It's ours. If you want it. Lena looked at the photos again, tried to imagine them there, waking up to that view, drinking coffee on that porch, living a life where the biggest threat was maybe a bear in the trash. I want it, she said. Good, because I already told them we'd take it. What if I'd said no? Then I would have bought you a different house until you said yes. She laughed and pulled him back into bed. You're insane. About you? Absolutely. They stayed like that for a while, wrapped up in each other, making plans for a future that felt impossible just days ago. The house in the mountains. The life they'd build. The peace they'd fought so hard to earn. Marco knocked on the door around noon. Boss, we've got an issue. Victor groaned. What kind of issue? The kind where the FBI wants to talk to you about last night's incident. Tell them I'm not available. I did. They said they'll wait. Let them wait. Boss? I'm busy, Marco. Doing what? Planning my retirement. Silence. Then, you're serious? As a heart attack. Victor sat up. I want out, Marco. All of it. The business. The wars. The constant looking over my shoulder. I want out. You can't just walk away. Watch me. He looked at Lena. We're leaving soon as I tie up the loose ends, and I want you to take over. Me? You've been running things while I fell apart anyway. Might as well make it official. Marco was quiet for a long moment. And if I say no? Then I'll find someone else. But I'd rather it be you, someone I trust, someone who won't burn everything down the second I'm gone. What about the FBI? Stall them. Tell them my lawyer will be in touch. Then make sure every piece of evidence from last night disappears. Already done. Good. Victor stood and pulled on a shirt. Give me a week, 1 week to close everything out, then I'm gone. Marco nodded slowly. You're really doing this. I'm really doing this. She must be something special. Victor looked at Lena, still tangled in the sheets, watching him with those eyes that had haunted him for 4 years. She's everything. Marco left. Victor got dressed properly and spent the rest of the day on the phone, methodically dismantling the empire he'd built, selling off assets, transferring accounts, signing over territory. By sunset, he was no longer one of the most powerful men in the city. He was just Victor D'Angelo, a man with a wife and a plan and a house in the mountains waiting for them. It's done, he said that evening, sitting beside Lena on the couch. Everything's transferred. Marco's in charge. We're free. Just like that? Just like that. He pulled her close. We leave tomorrow, first thing, before anyone can change my mind. Where are we going first? Airport. Then anywhere you want. The mountains? If that's what you want. It is. She kissed him. I want the mountains. And the quiet. And you. Just you. You've got me. For as long as you want me. Forever then. Forever works. They spent their last night in the city making love and making plans, tangled together like neither one could bear to let go. And when morning came, they packed 2 bags, got in a car, and drove away from everything they'd known. Behind them, the city kept moving. Wars still raged. Territory still changed hands. Power still shifted. But Victor and Lena weren't part of it anymore. They were just 2 people who'd found each other, lost each other, and fought like hell to find each other again. And for the first time in 4 years, that was enough. The house in the mountains was exactly what the photos promised. Log walls, stone fireplace, windows that framed the forest like paintings. It sat at the end of a gravel road, far enough from town that their nearest neighbor was 3 miles away. The kind of place where you could scream and no one would hear you. Or where you could finally breathe without looking over your shoulder. Lena stood on the porch that first morning, coffee in hand, watching the sun break through the trees. Behind her, she heard Victor moving around inside, unpacking the few things they'd brought. A life condensed into 2 suitcases and a duffel bag. You planning to stand out there all day? He called. Maybe. It's peaceful. It's 40 degrees. I've survived worse. He appeared beside her, handing her his jacket. She put it on without argument. It smelled like him, like safety. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That this doesn't feel real." "It's real." "Is it? Yesterday I was tied to a chair with a gun to my head. Today I'm drinking coffee in the mountains. That's not normal. We're not normal people." "That's what I said." She looked at him. "What if this doesn't work? What if we're too broken for quiet?" "Then we'll figure it out. Together. Like everything else." The word still carried weight. Together. Not him fixing things while she waited. Not her sacrificing while he charged ahead. Just both of them, fumbling through whatever came next. They spent the first week learning how to be still. Victor struggled with it more than Lena. He'd pace the house at night, checking locks that didn't need checking, looking out windows at threats that didn't exist, old habits from a life where paranoia kept you alive. "You need to relax," Lena told him on the 5th night, watching him check the back door for the 3rd time. "I am relaxed." "You're wound tighter than a spring." "This is me relaxed." She pulled him to the couch and pushed him down. "Sit. Watch a movie. Do something normal." "I don't know how to do normal." "Then learn." She grabbed the remote and scrolled through options. "What do you want to watch?" "I don't care." "Wrong answer. Pick something." He stared at the screen like it was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Finally, that one, with the car chase. They watched a terrible action movie where the physics made no sense and the hero never ran out of bullets. Victor critiqued every tactical decision. Lena threw popcorn at him whenever he got too analytical. By the end, they were both laughing, tangled together on the couch like teenagers. "See?" Lena said. "Normal." That was not normal. That was 90 minutes of impossible stunts. "Fine. Normal for us." He kissed her temple. "I can live with that." But normal didn't come easy. The nightmares started the 2nd week. Lena would wake up screaming, convinced someone was in the house. Victor would wake up swinging, fighting enemies that weren't there. They'd lie in the dark afterward, holding each other, waiting for their hearts to stop racing. "I'm sorry," Lena whispered one night after she'd woken him with her screaming. "Don't apologize. I keep seeing him, Volkov, with the gun. I keep thinking he's going to pull the trigger and I won't be fast enough to move. He's gone. He can't hurt you." "I know, but my brain doesn't believe it yet." Victor pulled her closer. "Give it time. We've spent 4 years in survival mode. We can't expect to flip a switch and be fine." "What if we're never fine?" "Then we'll be broken together. That's still better than broken alone." The 3rd week, Marco called. Victor almost didn't answer, but old loyalty won out. "What's wrong?" Victor asked, already bracing for bad news. "Nothing's wrong. Just checking in." That's not your style." Marco laughed. "Fair, how's retirement?" "Weird, quiet. I keep waiting for someone to try to kill me." "No one's coming. I made sure of it. Word's out that you're done. Off limits. Anyone who goes after you answers to me and Sophia both." Sophia agreed to that? She said, and I quote, "I like his wife. Tell him if he gets her killed now, I'll kill him myself." Victor smiled despite himself. "She's got away with words." "She does." Marco paused. "You doing okay up there? Really?" "Yeah, we are. It's an adjustment, but we're figuring it out." "Good. Because if you change your mind, I won't. But if you do, Marco, I'm out. For real. This isn't temporary. This is the rest of my life." Silence. Then, "I'm happy for you, boss. You deserve it. Both of you." "Thanks. That means something." "Yeah, well, don't get soft on me, and if you ever need anything, I'll call, but I won't need anything." They hung up. Lena was watching from the kitchen doorway. "Everything okay?" "Everything's fine. Marco's just making sure we're not dead." "That's thoughtful of him. That's his job. Or was his job. I don't know anymore." Victor ran a hand through his hair. "Strange, isn't it? Spending years building something and then just walking away." "Do you regret it?" "No, not even a little." He crossed to her and pulled her close. "You're worth more than any empire." "That's the exhaustion talking." "It's the truth talking. I'd burn it all down again if it meant keeping you safe." Lena rested her head on his chest. What if I told you I'm pregnant? Victor froze. His entire body went rigid. Then he pulled back to look at her, eyes wide. What? I said, what if? Hypothetically. Don't mess with me right now, Lena. I'm not messing with you. I'm asking a hypothetical question. Then, hypothetically, I'd say that's the best news I've ever heard. She smiled, reached into her pocket, pulled out a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines, clear as day. Victor stared at it, then at her, then at the test again. This isn't hypothetical, he said slowly. No, it's not. You're pregnant. Yeah. We're having a baby. Looks like it. He sat down hard on the nearest chair, still staring at the test like it might disappear if he blinked. How long have you known? Since yesterday. I was waiting for the right time to tell you. And you chose now, after a hypothetical question? I panicked. I didn't know how you'd react. Victor looked up at her and his eyes were wet. How I'd react? Lena, this is... His voice cracked. This is everything. She moved to him and he pulled her into his lap, wrapping his arms around her like she was something precious, something breakable. His hand settled on her stomach, flat and protective. We're really doing this, he said against her hair. Yeah, we really are. I don't know how to be a father. I don't know how to be a mother. We're going to mess this up. Probably. The kid's going to need therapy. Definitely. He laughed, the sound half sob, half joy. I love you. I don't say it enough, but I love you more than anything in this world. I know. And I love you too. Even when you're checking the locks at 3 a.m. I'm going to be worse now. I'm going to drive you crazy. You already drive me crazy. This is just an excuse. They sat like that for a long time, holding each other, letting the reality sink in. A baby. Their baby. A life they'd created in the middle of chaos, now growing in the quiet they'd fought so hard to find. The next few weeks were a blur of doctor's appointments and prenatal vitamins, and Victor reading every pregnancy book he could find. He became insufferable, monitoring her diet, making sure she rested, banning her from anything remotely strenuous. I'm pregnant, not dying, Lena said when he tried to stop her from carrying groceries. You shouldn't be lifting heavy things. It's 1 bag. It could hurt the baby. Victor, it's lettuce and bread. I think we'll survive. But she let him carry the bags anyway, because underneath the overprotectiveness was fear. The same fear she felt every time she thought about bringing a child into their complicated world. What if someone found them? What if their past caught up? What if they couldn't protect this tiny life they'd created? One night, 5 months in, Lena woke to find Victor sitting by the window, staring out at the dark forest. Can't sleep? She asked. Just thinking. About what? Whether we're being selfish, bringing a kid into this, after everything we've done, everything we've been part of. Lena got up and sat beside him. We left that life behind. Did we? Or did we just hide from it? Does it matter? We're here. We're safe. We're building something new. But what if it's not enough? What if someone figures out where we are? What if Volkov comes back? What if... Stop. She took his hand. You can't live your life in what-ifs. We made a choice. To leave. To start over. To be better than we were. And we're doing it. Every day we're doing it. I just want to keep you safe, both of you. You are. You do. But you can't protect us from everything. That's not how life works. I can try. And you will. I know you will. But you also have to let yourself be happy. Let yourself believe that maybe, just maybe, we deserve this. Victor looked at her, really looked at her. In the moonlight, her face was soft, her eyes kind. The woman who'd survived hell and came out stronger. The woman who'd chosen him over and over, even when it would have been easier to walk away. I don't know if I deserve it, he said quietly. But I'm not giving it up. Good, because I'm not letting you. She pulled him back to bed, and they slept wrapped around each other, her growing belly pressed against his side, his hand protective even in sleep. The baby came in early spring, 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Lena's water broke at 2 a.m, and Victor nearly crashed the car twice trying to get her to the hospital in town. She screamed at him the entire way, a mix of contractions and frustration and fear. "You did this to me," she panted between contractions. "I know. I'm never having sex with you again. You said that last time you were angry. I mean it this time. You won't mean it tomorrow. I hate you. You love me." Same thing right now. The labor was long, brutal. Lena cursed Victor in 3 languages and threatened to shoot him twice. He held her hand through all of it, let her break his fingers with her grip, whispered encouragement even when she told him to shut up. And then, at 6:47 in the morning, their daughter was born. Tiny, perfect, screaming loud enough to wake the whole hospital. The nurse placed her on Lena's chest, and the world stopped. Everything they'd been through, everything they'd survived, every mistake, every close call, every moment of fear and pain and desperate hope, it all led to this tiny person with Victor's dark hair and Lena's eyes. "She's beautiful," Lena whispered, tears streaming down her face. Victor couldn't speak, could barely breathe. He just stared at his daughter, at the miracle of her, and felt something crack open in his chest. Not breaking, expanding, making room for a love so fierce it scared him. "You want to hold her?" the nurse asked. He nodded, not trusting his voice. The nurse showed him how to support her head, how to cradle her. She fit in his arms like she'd always belonged there, like this was what his hands were made for. Not violence, not destruction. This. "Hi," he whispered to his daughter. "I'm your dad, and I'm going to mess this up sometimes, but I promise I'll love you more than anything in this world. You and your mom, you're my whole life now." The baby yawned, blinked up at him with unfocused eyes, and Victor was lost. Completely, utterly lost. They named her Elena, after Lena's grandmother. A woman who'd survived a war and rebuilt her life from nothing. A fighter, a survivor. The perfect namesake for a girl born into their particular brand of chaos. The first few months were harder than any battle Victor had ever fought. Sleepless nights, endless crying, the constant fear that he was doing everything wrong. But Lena was there, tired and beautiful and patient, showing him how to change diapers and warm bottles and soothe a colicky baby at 3 in the morning. "You're getting better at this," she said one night, watching him rock Elena to sleep. "I'm faking it. We're all faking it. That's parenthood. She deserves better than us faking it. She deserves parents who love her, who try. That's us. We're trying." And they were. Every day they tried to be normal, tried to be good, tried to give Elena the childhood neither of them had. When Elena was 6 months old, Marco called again. Victor almost didn't answer. But something in the way the phone rang, urgent, insistent, made him pick up. "What's wrong?" "We've got a problem. Volkov's back." Victor's blood turned to ice. "What do you mean he's back?" "He's in the city, making noise, trying to reclaim territory. He's been asking questions about you, where you went, if you're really out." "Did you tell him anything?" "Of course not, but he's got people looking. It's only a matter of time before someone talks." Victor looked at Lena, who was feeding Elena in the kitchen. His whole world in one room, everything he'd fought for, everything he'd die to protect. "What do you need from me?" Victor asked. "Nothing. I'm handling it. But I wanted you to know, just in case." "Just in case what?" "Just in case he finds you. Be ready." The line went dead. Victor stood there, phone in hand, feeling the weight of his past pressing down. He'd thought they were free, thought distance and time would be enough. But men like Volkov didn't forget, didn't forgive. They nursed their grudges until they could strike back. "What's wrong?" Lena asked, seeing his expression. He told her, watched the color drain from her face, watched her instinctively pull Elena closer. "What do we do?" she asked. "We prepare, just in case." "I thought we were done with this." "So did I." He moved to her and kissed her forehead, then Elena's. "But if he comes, we'll be ready. I'm not letting him take this from us." They spent the next week preparing. Victor called in favors from people he'd thought he'd never talk to again. Had Marco send weapons. Installed security systems that could detect a mouse at 100 yards. planned escape routes and safe houses and contingencies for contingencies. Lena hated all of it, hated the guns back in the house, hated the fear creeping back in, hated that Elena would grow up in a home where her father checked the locks obsessively and her mother jumped at sudden noises. "This isn't the life we wanted for her," Lena said one night, watching Victor install another camera. "I know. We left to get away from this. I know. So what are we doing?" Victor set down his tools and came to her. "We're surviving. That's what we do. We survive and we protect what's ours. I'm tired of just surviving. I want to live. We will, once this is handled. And when will it be handled? When Volkov's dead? When the next threat shows up? When?" Her voice rose. "When do we get to stop fighting?" Victor didn't have an answer, because the truth was, he didn't know. Maybe never. Maybe people like them didn't get happy endings. Maybe they just got brief moments of peace between battles. Elena started crying. Lena went to her, leaving Victor alone with his cameras and his guns and his plans. 2 weeks later, Volkov's men found them. It was early evening. Victor was making dinner while Lena put Elena down for a nap. The security system chimed, motion detected on the access road. Victor checked the camera feed. 3 SUVs, black, tinted windows, moving fast up the gravel road toward the house. "Lena," he called, his voice calm despite the adrenaline spike. "We've got company." She appeared in the doorway. "How many?" 3 vehicles. Maybe 12 men. "The panic room?" "Not enough time. We need to move. Now." They'd practiced this. Had a bag packed with essentials. Had a route through the forest that would take them to a backup car hidden 2 miles away. Victor grabbed the bag while Lena scooped up Elena, who was miraculously still asleep. They went out the back door just as the first SUV pulled up front. Victor led them into the trees, moving fast but quiet, one hand on his gun, the other guiding Lena. Behind them they heard doors slamming, voices shouting, the sound of the front door being kicked in. They ran. The forest was dark and thick, branches grabbing at their clothes. Lena clutched Elena tight, murmuring soothing sounds every time the baby stirred. Victor kept checking over his shoulder, waiting for the moment when Volkov's men would realize they'd run and give chase. It came 3 minutes later, flashlights in the darkness, footsteps crashing through undergrowth, voices calling to each other. Victor pushed them faster. His lungs burned. Lena was breathing hard, struggling to keep up while carrying Elena. But they couldn't stop, couldn't slow down. The backup car was where they'd left it, hidden under branches and camouflage netting. Victor tore off the covering while Lena strapped Elena into the car seat they'd installed weeks ago. The baby was awake now, whimpering, sensing the fear. "It's okay, baby," Lena whispered. "Mama's here. You're okay." Victor started the engine, threw the car into gear. They peeled out just as flashlight beams found them, bullets hitting the back window, glass spiderwebbing, but holding. "Down!" Victor shouted. Lena ducked, covering Elena with her body. More gunfire. The rear windshield shattered. Victor swerved, taking a sharp turn onto a logging road, the car fishtailing on loose gravel. Elena was screaming now. Lena was crying. Victor was driving like a man possessed, taking turns too fast, pushing the car beyond its limits. "Are they following?" Lena asked. Victor checked the mirror. Headlights. Far back, but gaining. "Yeah." "Where are we going?" "Marco's safe house, 40 miles east." "That's too far." "It's the only option." They drove in tense silence, broken only by Elena's crying. Victor's mind raced through scenarios. They were outgunned, outnumbered, running in a car that couldn't outrun the SUVs chasing them. He needed an edge, needed something Volkov wouldn't expect. His phone rang. Sophia Russo. "I heard you've got a problem," she said without preamble. "How did you—" "Marco called me, said Volkov was making a move, figured you'd need help." "We're past help. We're running." "Then stop running and fight." "I've got my wife and daughter with me. I'm not fighting." "Then you're going to die. Because Volkov's got 20 men on you, and they're not going to stop until you're dead." Victor's jaw clenched. "What are you suggesting?" "Meet me at the old quarry, Route 7. I'll be there in 15 minutes with enough firepower to end this." "Why would you help us?" Because I told you before, I like your wife. And because Volkov broke the peace. That makes it my problem too. She paused. Your choice, Victor. Run and hope you make it, or stand and finish this once and for all. The line went dead. Victor looked at Lena. Sophia's offering to help. She wants us to meet her at the quarry. It could be a trap, I know. But if it's not, we end this tonight. No more running, no more hiding. Lena looked at Elena, now quiet again, sucking her tiny fist. Then at Victor. Do it. Let's end this. Victor changed direction, heading for the quarry. The SUVs behind them stayed close enough that he could count headlights in the mirror. 3 vehicles, 1 chance. The quarry appeared 15 minutes later, a massive pit carved into the earth, ringed by gravel roads and equipment. And sitting in the center, like she owned the place, was Sophia Russo with 2 trucks full of armed men. Victor pulled up and got out. Lena stayed in the car with Elena. You came, Sophia said, lighting a cigarette. Didn't have much choice. You always have a choice. You just made the smart one. She gestured to her men. We've got this perimeter locked down. When Volkov's people arrive, we'll have them in a crossfire. They won't know what hit them. And then what? Then you and I are going to have a conversation with Alexei about respecting boundaries. The SUVs appeared at the quarry entrance, headlights cutting through the darkness. They stopped when they saw Sophia's trucks. Doors opened. Men got out, weapons drawn. And from the middle vehicle, Alexei Volkov stepped out. He looked thinner, harder, angrier, like exile had carved away everything soft and left only rage. Victor, he called across the quarry. I thought we had an understanding. You were supposed to disappear. I did disappear. You came looking. Because you took everything from me. My business, my reputation, my future. You think I'd just forget that? I think you should have stayed gone, Volkov laughed. And missed the chance to watch you lose everything? The way you made me lose mine? No. I came back to return the favor. Sophia stepped forward. This is neutral ground, Alexei. You attack him here, you're breaking every rule we have. I don't care about your rules anymore. Then you're stupider than I thought. She gestured, and her men raised their weapons. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time. Walk away now, or we end this here. Volkov's men shifted nervously. They could see the math wasn't in their favor. But Volkov didn't move. I didn't come here to walk away. I came here to watch Victor bleed. Then you're going to die disappointed, Victor said. Maybe, but I'm taking you with me. Volkov raised his gun. Everything happened at once. Victor dove left. Sophia's men opened fire. Volkov's men returned fire. The quarry erupted into chaos, muzzle flashes lighting the darkness, bullets ricocheting off equipment and stone. Victor rolled behind a concrete barrier and came up shooting. Dropped 2 of Volkov's men with clean headshots. Saw Sophia take down another. Her men were disciplined, controlled, picking their targets carefully. Volkov's men were panicking, caught in the crossfire, going down one by one, and Volkov himself was running, back toward his SUV, back toward escape. Victor chased him, left the cover of the barrier and ran across open ground, bullets whipping past his head. He didn't care. Couldn't let Volkov get away. Couldn't let this happen again. He caught up to Volkov at the SUV, grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the door. Volkov swung wild, caught Victor in the jaw. Victor's head snapped back, but he didn't let go. Hit Volkov in the ribs, once, twice, heard bones crack. Volkov dropped to his knees, gasping. Victor pressed his gun to Volkov's forehead. Give me one reason not to pull this trigger. I don't have one. Volkov spat blood. Do it. Get it over with. Victor's finger tightened on the trigger. Every part of him wanted to do it, wanted to end this, wanted to make sure Volkov never threatened his family again. But he thought about Elena, about the world he wanted to build for her, about being better than what he'd been. He lowered the gun. You get one chance, Victor said. One. You leave. Tonight. You get on a plane and you never come back. You never speak my name. You never think about me or my family. You just disappear. Completely. Forever. And if I refuse? Then Sophia kills you, and I don't lose sleep over it. Sophia appeared beside them, gun drawn. He's right. I'll do it happily. Volkov looked between them, at the bodies of his men scattered across the quarry, at the blood pooling under his ribs, at the fact that he'd lost. Again. Fine, he whispered. I'll go. Good. Victor stepped back. Marco's going to make sure you get on that plane, and if you ever come back, I won't be this generous. Sophia made a phone call. 5 minutes later, Marco arrived with 2 men. They hauled Volkov to his feet and dragged him to a waiting car. Airport, Sophia told them. First international flight out. I don't care where it goes. They drove off. And just like that, it was over. The gunfire had stopped. Sophia's men were securing the area, checking bodies, cleaning up the scene. Victor stood in the center of the quarry, breathing hard, bleeding from a cut on his temple. Sophia walked over. You should have killed him. I know. But you didn't. No, I didn't. Why? Victor looked back toward his car, where Lena was still waiting with Elena. Because I'm trying to be better than I was. Sophia followed his gaze. How's that working out? Ask me in 20 years. She smiled, crushed her cigarette under her heel. For what it's worth, I think you'll make it. You've got something worth fighting for now. That changes a man. Or destroys him. Same thing sometimes. She extended her hand. We're even now. For real this time. You don't owe me anything, and I don't owe you. Clean slate. Victor shook her hand. Clean slate. She left with her men, the trucks disappearing into the night, and Victor walked back to his car, where his family waited. Lena got out when she saw him, threw her arms around him, buried her face in his chest. She was shaking. Is it over? It's over. For real. For real, he's gone. He's not coming back. She pulled back to look at him. And if he does? Then we'll handle it. Together. He cupped her face. But I don't think he will. He's lost too much. He's got nothing left to fight for. And we do. Yeah, we do. They got in the car and drove back to the house. The place was trashed, door broken, furniture overturned. But it was still standing, still theirs. They spent the rest of the night cleaning, fixing what could be fixed, making plans to repair what couldn't. And when Elena woke up hungry at 3 a.m, Victor fed her while Lena slept, his daughter cradled in his arms, her tiny hand wrapped around his finger. I'm going to do better, he whispered to her. I'm going to give you a life where you don't have to run, where you don't have to fight, where you can just be a kid. I promise. Elena yawned, closed her eyes, trusted him completely. And Victor felt the weight of that trust settle on his shoulders. Heavy, precious, worth everything. The months that followed were quiet, real quiet, not the tense waiting for disaster quiet they'd lived with before. Marco called occasionally to update them. Volkov had landed in Singapore and hadn't been heard from since. The city was stable. The peace was holding. Victor stopped checking the locks obsessively, stopped jumping at shadows, started sleeping through the night. Lena started painting again, something she hadn't done since before they met. Filled the house with canvases of mountains and forests and Elena's sleeping face. And Elena grew, started crawling, started babbling, started being the center of their entire world. On Elena's first birthday, they had a small party. Just the 3 of them, and a cake that Victor burned slightly because he'd forgotten to set the timer. Elena smashed frosting into her hair and laughed and made a mess, and it was perfect. That night, after Elena was asleep, Victor and Lena sat on the porch, watching the stars. You think she'll remember any of this? Lena asked. The running, the fighting, the fear. I hope not. I hope all she remembers is this. The quiet, the peace, the normal. Is this normal? It is for us. He pulled her close. We earned this, Lena. After everything we survived, everything we lost, we earned the right to be happy. And we are? Happy? Yeah, we are. She rested her head on his shoulder. I love you, even when you burn cakes. I love you too, even when you throw paint on everything. They sat in comfortable silence, 2 people who'd been through hell and somehow found their way out. Not perfect, not undamaged, but alive. Together, building something better than either of them had ever known. Inside, Elena stirred in her crib and settled again, safe and warm and loved. And for the first time in their lives, Victor and Lena weren't running from the past. They were building a future, one quiet day at a time.